Hello, everyone, and we're here to talk about a new recording that we've done, Raconteurs, and we'll tell you all about that in a minute. Liam, what have we done? What have we just recorded?
So we have just recorded and produced a version of A Christmas Carol, which is set for release on the 6th of October in a couple of days, just in time for Christmas, to get all your Christmas audio purchases in time for the festive season. But it's not just A Christmas Carol, is it, Greg?
It is a massive omnibus serve. It's got the two novellas other than The Christmas Carol, which is the Chimes and The Cricket on the Hearth. And there's also a bit of a medley of quite a few more stories. I think there's about half a dozen, 8 or 9 maybe, other Christmas stories that he wrote, and a couple which are not Christmassy perhaps, but a bit supernatural. So I think there's 10 hours plus of audio, and I think it's the first time there's been such a compendium of Charles Dickens Christmas stories all together. So if you've got a credit hanging about on Audible, 6 great narrators, 7 great narrators, in fact. Let's not knock out one of us. There's 7 great narrators doing it. So yeah, and spend your credit on that. What else?
That's right. I mean, you look on Audible, it's coming up to Christmas. You know, there's one thing you've got to buy, and it's A Christmas Carol. And there's loads of them on Audible, let's face it. But you just get A Christmas Carol. With this, it's A Christmas Carol and all the other Dickens's short stories. So you get so much more. And some of them are really interesting. I'd never heard of one of the stories I do, The Christmas Goblins. I'd never heard of it before. And it's a short Dickens story, which he was famous for. But it's about this kind of, obviously written before Christmas Carol, and the character in it is like a prototype Scrooge. So he's this miserly, horrible, penny-pinching, mean character who is, he goes through this rebirth, if you like, through the story. And that was obviously some kind of draft that was to then become Ebenezer in A Christmas Carol. Why do you think Christmas Carol this year would be particularly relevant? I mean, it's so much part of the fabric of Christmas any year anyway. It's not Christmas without Christmas Carol. But what do you think this year Christmas Carol could bring to us and give us?
Well, I think this year there's a lot of people who are feeling the great effects of isolation and possible isolated Christmases. So it might be the case that, listening to Christmas Carol will give people that old nostalgic feeling of how Christmas used to be. It's been a difficult year for everyone, and Christmas Carol is a real tearjerker in lots of ways, but there's a great message of hope at the end about, the restitution of morality and proper charity and Christian charity, or forget Christian if you like, but good things being done to all men and women, of course. And so, yeah, it's a great story, and it's a real heart warmer. And if you're perhaps alone this Christmas, or you're having difficulty getting in touch with your family and having the usual Christmas, this is a great story to put a smile on your face and bring a tear to your eye. So, plus, of course, the other 2 novellas, which are the Chimes and The Cricket on the Hearth, much less well known, but they deserve a wider audience. And so if you were thinking, well, I'm going to listen to Christmas Carol, you get these 2 as well, plus a lot of other stuff. So, put those on, put your feet up, have a sherry, have a pint of Guinness, whatever you want. I think they're really great, actually. And we've got 7 great readers. We've got yourself, you've got me, Tim Bruce, James Gillies, Helen Lloyd, Nigel Patterson, and have I done everyone there?
Malk.
How could I forget Malk? Malk is reading Nobody's Story. And he also reads the end of it, the final big hurrah on the end of Christmas Carol, Stave 5. And what we did, we should mention, shouldn't we, that what we did with Christmas Carol was it's divided into 5 staves. And we thought it'd be quite interesting to have one narrator read each stave. So you get 5 different Scrooges being interpreted by the 5 of us. And you also get all the other characters. But rather than get bored and fed up with the same voice and you think, oh, I know what he does, I'm getting fed up with the way he says that. Every 20 minutes or 30 minutes or so, you get a new reader, a new narrator to give his own twist on it.
Yeah, I think that's really the kind of USP for me about this version. I mean, it's as an actor, I've done Christmas Carol, God, over half a dozen times for different theatre companies up and down the country, and
Mm.
I've played every part except Scrooge and Mrs. Cratchit. I think I've played every other part in
You've
it.
not done Tiny Tim, have you?
I've played, well, yes, because in one production that we did at Lancaster at the Duke's, Tiny Tim was a puppet, and he was a little ventriloquist puppet, so I did his voice as well. So technically, I've done Tiny Tim as well.
Oh, right,
I
okay.
played Bob Cratchit, and I had the puppet of Tiny Tim that I used to talk to, and he'd talk back to me, and then I sang a lullaby with him, and I'd sing to him, and he'd sing back to me, but it was all me doing it. And one thing we can't have this Christmas, we can't go to the theatre. I mean, pantos up and down the
Yeah.
land are closed. There is no theatre. They're all dark. And if you don't go to see a panto, if your family tradition isn't to go and see a panto, it's to go and see a Christmas Carol, let's face it. And the one day of the year when a Christmas Carol works better than any other play or musical or show is on Christmas Eve. Christmas Carol on Christmas Eve is just perfect. And it's also my birthday. Christmas Eve's my birthday as well. So it's extra. It is, yeah. So it's extra special. But we can't go to the theatre this year to do it. So don't just listen to any old version of A Christmas Carol. We've tried to make this version as theatrical as possible. So it's a multi-narration recording. As you said, Greg, we've got 7 different narrators working on it. So you get 7 different Cratchits, you get 7 different Scrooges with the tone and feeling and pace that each of the individual actors brings to it. But what else? The other thing that we've brought to it is we've brought music. So we've got some traditional carols and Christmas songs that are interspersed throughout it. So hopefully it really will be like a theatrical retelling of A Christmas Carol rather than just somebody speaking it to you. We've tried to make it as theatrical and atmospheric as possible. And there's some teasers out there as well. There's some tasters that people can listen to. I think obviously you'll get the little sample on Audible, but if people go to the YouTube channel or our Facebook channel, they'll be able to hear little teasers and tasters of what it sounds like as well.
Absolutely. And I think what we might be doing on some channels, some social media channels, I think my YouTube channel, which has Sherlock Holmes stories on it, will be having Stave 1, which you read yourself as a sort of teaser. So if you want to get the idea of it, Kelvin Taus has done the music, traditional Christmas music, as you say. And so, yeah, there will be, I think, some Stave 1s knocking around. Give them a listen, see what you think. I think they're great. They sound great. And there's another 10 plus hours more if you buy it as an audiobook. So there's lots of opportunities to suck it and see, give it a run out, see what you think. And yeah, we hope you enjoy it.
What did you think about when you're reading the other stories, not just A Christmas Carol, which we all know? What did you think? Do you like Dickens? How do you find his writing? How did you find the other stories?
Yeah, I mean, I love Dickens, and I didn't know The Haunted House, which is the one I read. Did I read any more than The Haunted House? I'm just looking at my notes, and no, it's just a great story. Dickens is a fantastic writer, and you know, as we know, that all comes out of his childhood and his suffering. Lots of it. You know, the fact his parents were chucked into the Marshalsea debtors' prison, and he ended up in the boot blacking factory, was it, as a young child, doing horrible, you know, menial tasks of sticking the labels on the bottles of boot blacking. And so Dickens is a fantastic writer about social things, but he's also a great purveyor of comedy, character-based comedy. You know, it's just all brilliant stuff. And some of these Christmas stories are a bit lighter. He loves the supernatural. My Haunted House thing is full of, you know, scatty servants being petrified of ghosts, and you know, it's just lots of it has a very modern feeling. I don't know if you agree with that.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the thing about A Christmas Carol for me is that it really is universal. Every type of strata of society is represented in it, and there's parallels there with coronavirus and everything that we're all kind of going through. It can, the meanness that Scrooge kind of has, that kind of penny pinching frugality. You know, it's it can, those kind of sentiments can affect anybody, and happiness, rejoice, redemption also can affect everybody. And the thing about A Christmas Carol is, we all know the Muppet version, which is fantastic, don't get me wrong, and we all know the theatrical versions that we see. But when you go back to the original, there's always details and bits that you miss that are cut out. So there's a scene where he goes to see some miners, and there's the lighthouse scene, and there's little details about family life, and you get rich people who, it's not like all rich people are bad and they're all mean, because there's rich people in a Christmas Carol who are very happy and very giving all throughout it. It's not, and there's poor people who are mean equally, like the charwoman, all the people who are fighting over his clothes, trying to sell all off his stuff. That it's not as black and white as, oh, poor people are good and rich people are bad. It's far cleverer than that, and it's very similar in a way to modern society, how anybody can be anything, and it's all about your own self journey, and that's what I think is so touching about Dickens's work. And when you read it, I remember when I read Oliver Twist for the first time, I mean, it takes 10 pages to explain the shape of somebody's hat, or something. The detail is phenomenal. And hopefully we've tried to bring that to life and characterize it and visualize it for the listener with this production that we've done, which is out on the 6th of October. It's the 2nd of October today, so it's out in 4 days' time on Audible and all your usual favorite venues for purchasing audiobooks. Anything
Absolutely.
else you'd like to add?
No, just if you're on Audible or anywhere else, but on Audible, one credit, you can stick it on of a night, play a story, have a bedtime story, sit round with your family. It's great. It's the perfect Christmas gift, so we hope people enjoy it. And I think happy Christmas, everybody. And
happy Christmas. Yeah, absolutely. It feels slightly strange to say that on the 2nd of October, but hopefully the time that people will be, listening to this will be a little bit nearer to Christmas, and they'll be going straight out to Audible and buying that audiobook. So happy Christmas and a very happy New Year to all of you.